head coach for the last 3 games. But could he win the job, or do we like somebody else? Welcome on into the Auburn Express, powered by the War Report. I'm your host, Mike G. Turn us on, turn us up. We'll turn it out. I'm here with my good friend Taylor Davis, sideline reporter for ESPN, to talk a little Auburn football. Taylor, it's been an eventful 72 hours on the plains. Hugh Freeze dismissed as Auburn's head football coach. John Cohen said a lot of things. He said, "You won't hear the words patience or close come out of my mouth here." He said that it's time for the football program to give back to the fans, which I like that line. And he says that he's going to spend every waking moment making this winning football program a reality. And I like that as well, too.
Yeah.
John Cohen is in an advantageous position that he's going to get a chance to hire 2 football coaches here. The first one didn't go as planned. Freeze's family very vocal on social media about his dismissal, saying some things like maybe one day Auburn will love us back. Fans did not take kindly to that. It's been a little bit of a tumultuous kind of dismissal. However, I do want to get into DJ Durkin first. He was announced as the interim head coach. It was really the only direction Auburn could go. The highlight of the press conference, I have a clip, and it was the highlight of the press conference for me. I love this guy. I love his attitude. I love his energy. Let's listen to what he had to say.
I think it's important, like in football, you realize this. It's not always what you do. It's how you do it and who does it. And I think that's a major thing. Like how you do things, how you do anything in life really matters. And you can see a difference in 2 people doing the same exact thing, but there's a difference in how they're doing it. And so that's our first focus. And it with an edge and with relentless effort and a certain sense of physicality.
Subsequently, when asked about whether he would be interested in the head coaching job at Auburn, he said, "We're focused on Vanderbilt." Mm-hmm. So I like that answer as well, too. Talk to me about your thoughts on DJ Durkin here. He had a little bit of a marred past at Maryland, but the players here love him. The defense is playing lights out. They have given up less. They haven't given more than 24 points to any opponent all year, and Auburn is under 500. What do you love or hate about DJ Durkin?
Yeah, the only other 2 programs that can say the same are Ohio State and Indiana, and both of those are on a fast track to the playoffs. So
right.
The age-old adage that offense sells tickets and defense wins championships, I think Auburn is dismantling that, because if that were the case, Auburn would be playing for a playoff spot right now. I love a lot of things about DJ Durkin. For one, I loved his shirt. I love that retro obby. That is just one of my favorites, I gotta say. No, I mean, when I have been fortunate enough to cover DJ Durkin, I always leave his meetings feeling like my understanding grew. And that is not the priority of those conversations, but his understanding of ball and his ability to articulate what he sees in a matchup, what he sees in his talent. I think that's ultimately what was lacking from the offensive side of the ball. There was no plan of what they saw against their opponent. There was no plan of what they saw to utilize their talent. And you saw the differential of result because of that approach, right? I think that DJ Durkin brings a level of intensity, but in a good way. Like, you need a level of passion and like at one point I was like, is he out of breath? Like, but it's because he literally brings an urgency, because that's what Auburn should be right now. Auburn should be urgent about the game of football, about decisions they are making, about how they were approaching every day, because I understand the next 3 games, win or loss this season, was not what any of us wanted. But guess what DJ Durkin knows? You got to be working overtime to keep a lot of these players on this roster right now. And if you go in there at all lethargic, they are going to emulate that. So him still bringing this aura of what we do every day matters is going to trickle down into his players. You have seen it on the defensive side of the ball that they play with the energy. And I think it's been evident this season. Some of the best teams, in my opinion, right now in college football aren't necessarily the ones that are blowing everyone out of the water. In my opinion, it's more impressive when you find ways to win when adversity strikes. And in order to do that, there is a mental toughness that comes into play and a sense of urgency and passion for what you're doing in front of you. From my experience and from what he's already putting out as the interim, DJ Durkin leads with that.
What if he wins the next 3, Taylor?
then I think the decision's made for you. Are you
Yeah,
kidding?
you
You win
gotta
the
go
Iron
with
Bowl?
it, right?
It's on.
Auburn hasn't won it since 2019. It would be quite the feat here to beat the Tide, I think, especially with the state of the program. But there's a lot of talent on the Plains. Look, he proclaimed that this would look different, and I think that comes from a place of understanding where Auburn maybe had shortcomings in their preparation, but he was the defensive coordinator. Now he's the interim head coach, so he's in a better position to affect that. Some other notes here, Taylor. DJ said he will continue to call the defense. Derek Nix will be the full-time play caller. He said he's not going to step out of his wheelhouse and try to interfere with that. I think this is the most interesting part of this whole experiment is that if Freeze was ineffective as a play caller, we're going to find out right this week. What do you think about Derek Nix doing all the plays? He said every down. No more of this, you do get a down, I get a down thing. It's just going to be Derek Nix.
Which I really wondered how much of that was truly implemented. I mean, I love him, but Gus Malzahn used to say that other people had involvement. No, they didn't. Like I do wonder how much of that was in actuality and how much of it just kind of kept people from having pitchforks about Hugh being the lone play caller. I don't know. I'm not on the headsets, but I think that less cooks in the kitchen. Look, how many times do we say if you have multiple quarterbacks, you have none? If you have multiple play callers, you have none. Like I genuinely believe that too many cooks in the kitchen is a recipe for disaster. And so if any of that was truly going on, I hate it. And if it was just Hugh, with all due respect, I hated it. Like the play calling has been terrible. There has been no rhythm, no system, no efficiency. If one thing was working, they would deviate and then be frustrated that that didn't work. It just made no sense. So I'm optimistic. I don't know enough about Derek Nix's style and his play calling ability to really be able to give you my opinion on that situation. But just the nature that it will be one person and that it will be someone that, for all we know, has not been calling the plays through the first 10 weeks of season gives me more hope. I'm more curious what they're doing at the quarterback position, to be frank.
Yeah, look, got a little intel on that. Ashton Daniels been working with the ones all week so far, so looks like it's going to be Ashton. I'm very curious about how they will manage the redshirt situation over the next 3 games. Ashton needs to sit out one more game to save his redshirt. Deuce is his redshirt safe as of this week, so he's only participating in one game. You got 3 games left, and what do you do with Jackson Arnold between now and the end of the season?
Right.
Obviously, no big roster moves will be made. Some other notes from the press conference, Taylor. There were some off-field staff changes after Hugh. There haven't been any on-the-field staff changes as of yet. John Cohen intimating that there could be some on-the-field staff changes coming in the coming weeks. But as of right now, the staff on the field remains untouched. So we'll see how everybody performs in their current roles through the end of the season. I want to run through some names that have been bounced out here. There are lists. It's list season, and everybody has their odds on to get the next head coaching job. I ran through this list with our first 2 guests this week, so I want to make sure that you get in on the action here. Eli Drinkwitz and his 56-27 record has been rumored to be in the running. John Summerall from Tulane, 38-11 record. Kenny Dillingham, a guy who was offensive coordinator here under Gus, 20-15 record at ASU. James Franklin, 128-60 as a head coach. Penn State recently released him. He, no stranger to the SEC, former Vanderbilt coach. Brent Key at Georgia Tech, 18-16 record. He's got the Yellow Jackets playing well. Alex Golish is a name rising the coaching charts here at 20-14 at USF. Jimbo Fisher, 28-48 record. Massive buyout given. This name is a complete joke. I can't believe it's on the list. I will 100%. I'll burn my degree if they hire. I will burn it. I can't take this seriously.
Yeah.
And we put his name. It wasn't on the list that we looked at, but we put his name on the list. I think DJ Durkin, 11-15. He had a 10-15 record at Maryland with some controversy there, but he had one game as interim at Florida back in 2014. Talk to me about some of these names here. Any names on the list you love or hate? Jimbo Fisher is out for me, man. No Jimbo. I think he's lost.
I didn't even know that was a real option. Like, no, just with all due respect, no. I also, with all due respect, because several of these guys I work with and cover, one of which I just covered this past weekend. So I mean, no disrespect when I say any of this. I do not understand the Eli Drinkwitz conversation.
Oh,
I really,
really?
I don't. No, I just don't see the fit, and I don't see a guaranteed fix. I think he has done phenomenal things at Missouri. I think he is a great fit at Missouri. From the culture perspective, from how he is in that place, like that was a program that for a long time didn't even care about being in the SEC. I know because I was on site when it was their first couple of years in the SEC. I was on campus for a gymnastics shoot the day of the SEC championship, and it was in 2017 when Auburn was in it. So I went into their most prominent sports bar and asked for if the game was going to be on. The location did not know that the SEC championship game was that day. You are a part of the SEC. Like, it took them
Wow.
a minute to really become involved. They are now. Missouri fans, do not come from me. I'm just saying, I think Eli was the perfect fit for a program of that transition and situation. And look, what he's doing, he's performing better than Auburn is right now. So I'm not knocking the guy. But in the playoff era, Missouri is 0-13 against AP top 10 teams. They are dropping the big games that matter when they are in the conversation for a playoff run.
Yeah.
0-13 against top 10 teams. You are telling me that a program like Auburn that is guaranteed to play Georgia and Bama every single year would be fixed by someone who is 0-13 against top 10 teams
That's a great
in the
point.
playoff conversation. I'm not seeing it.
Yeah, I mean, there's an argument to be made that he has done more with less every year he's been at Missouri, right? But could
But a
he?
lot of those years were also when we were still in divisions, and SEC East was very different than SEC West.
Where's Missouri right now in the in the standings? Are they're playing?
They're technically still in the conversation because Vanderbilt lost to Texas.
Okay, yeah, I
It's
wanted to
very
say.
weird right now.
Yeah, I thought they were still in the playoff conference that ranked 19, 6-2 overall, 2-2 in conference. I think again, if you can get to 10 wins, you've got an argument for the playoff coming out of the SEC. Our friend, your colleague Heather Dinich said this. She thinks that 10-win SEC team is in. So, and
You
I think
also
that
have Texas A&M this weekend. If you pull
Oof.
off something like that, very different story.
Yeah, true. The undefeated Aggies, the only undefeated team in the SEC right now. I wouldn't have guessed it would have been them, but it is. Bama sitting at 7-1, Georgia sitting at 7-1, Ole Miss sitting at 8-1. Those seem like your locks for the playoffs right now. Not putting it past Lane Kiffin to flop down the stretch and drop 2 games and suddenly be out of it. But there are a lot of teams in contention here for those final spots here. Vanderbilt is Auburn's next opponent. So we're going to get to the break here, Taylor. And when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about what the Tigers have to do this weekend. Could they take down the top 15 Commodores? Go ahead before we go.
Potentially. I only gave you one that I didn't like. My favorite on that list, I am a John Summerall supporter. I will say it loud and proud. That is my guy. I have been very vocal about that. I have covered him at both Troy and Tulane, and I had a very strong impression early. He is going to be an SEC head coach. It's a matter of when, not if. I like the fit at Auburn. I said this on my podcast with Jason Campbell. John Summerall has a very unique ability to be that hard-nosed, blue-collar, tough disciplinarian coach without being an a-hole. Okay? Because a lot of coaches this day and age don't know that balance. I think that ultimately is what happened in Baton Rouge. Brian Kelly couldn't find the balance between that. Nick Saban had a knack for it. I mean, I have stories from players of this guy being like what would make you cry. And yet the next day they would show up at practice and they were like, all I wanted was to like have a relationship with him. Like there was just a uniqueness to that balance. In this day and age when players have all the power, I don't know how you even find it. John Summerall has that. The guys loved him. They rallied for him, but I saw him lay into guys. I think an Auburn coach needs to be a no BS blue collar kind of guy because of all of the unfortunate noise that has surrounded the past 2 head coaches at Auburn, it has impacted the perception of the seriousness of Auburn. So you got to have a guy that is like head to the road. Like, we are a hardworking guy. I'm not putting up with any of your crap, but you're also really part of a family if you're part of Auburn. So there has to be an ability of respect and person to person that comes in play at Auburn. I think John Summerall possesses all of those. Durkin is going to get a look depending on the next 3 weeks and how it goes. I think roster retention is really a part of the game for him because a lot of these guys want to play for him. I think in an ideal world, if it's not him, the new head coach really retain Durkin. I don't know how easy of a task that's going to be because coaches come in with their guys, but like, show me many resumes that are more impressive than DJ Durkin as a DC the past few years. Like, I think keeping him would be priority 1 if possible. And James Franklin, I think, is absolutely warranted. You make the phone call. One name that I am curious what's happening with, because news came out this week that an extension was put in place. But Rhett Lashlee, his ties to Auburn run deep, and he is winning at a place that has a lot up against them, or has had a lot up against them, given the 30 years that they weren't even in football. They make it to the ACC championship game in their first year at SMU, and Rhett Lashlee still has a place in his heart for Auburn. I know that. So with the extension, SMU is a private institution, so I don't know the actual logistics. Buyout for a firing is very different from buyout for choosing to leave. If he would choose to leave, I don't know, but I definitely think that that's a phone call that you make. For me, that's where my list stops. All due respect to guys like Brent Key and Kenny Dillingham, and they've done great things where they are. I don't see the fit at Auburn. Honorable mention to Alex Golesh, though. That guy is freaking awesome. I covered him 2 weeks ago.
I want to get to the break, but I want to dig into John Summerall. I'm glad you brought him up, that he's at the top of your list. A much debated name here in every Auburn circle. But yeah, on the other side, we're going to talk a little bit about John Summerall and his potential fit. This episode of The War Report is brought to you by our friends at Abel's I&O Moore and Associates. Small business owners are experts at running their businesses, but managing investments and retirement plans is a whole different ballgame. Often business owners anticipate the eventual sale of their business to be their retirement strategy, but all too often the valuation yields less than desired or needed. That's where Abel's I Know More Associates comes in. They help owners and their employees prepare for retirement by making the eventual sale at retirement be the icing on, not the cake itself. AMA is just fiduciary advice that fits real-world business owners. Call AMA at 912-777-4128. Scan the QR code on the screen or visit aimainc.com to schedule your review today. The War Report has been compensated by Abel's I Know More and Associates for this endorsement. Abel's I Know More and Associates is a SEC registered investment advisor. Registration as an investment advisor doesn't imply a certain level of skill or training. This episode of The War Report is also brought to you by our friends at the Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off your Rogue Shop order. Pain, sleep, stress, anxiety, whatever ails you in life, the Rogue Shop has something that has you covered. If you've got some traditional ailments that could require some non-traditional remedies, the Rogue Shop could be the place for you. Our guy Richard dropping a little something extra for everybody using code REPORT today. I want to thank our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/WR. Use the codes on the screen to get your discount on your Golden's Cast Iron products. The summer may be over, but the fall is here. That means great weather in the South. You want to be outside by the grill or staying in shape with some Golden's Cast Iron weights. Work out, grill out, chill out with Golden's Cast Iron. Last but certainly not least, we want to thank our friends at the Vibe Vault. You can find them at 3462 Crosswinds Road, Suite E in Phoenix City, Alabama. If you're in the Columbus, Phoenix City area and you're looking to get fresh for the weekend, the Vibe Vault is the place for you. Not just barbers, lifestyle consultants. Taylor, you mentioned John Summerall. There's a clip of him talking about his players circulating on social media that I absolutely love, the energy. And he talks about, the care that he has for his guys, but he speaks with the intensity of someone that knows what it takes to win.
Yep.
And, a lot of fans feel like this isn't the splash hire we need right now. I'm not sure Auburn needs a splash hire. I think they need a guy who can develop, who has a plan, and who is willing to put in the work to get this program where it needs to be. We had a funny moment after the basketball game last night. Stephen Pearl went to overtime in his debut as Auburn's head coach, and they had some glaring deficiencies. He said to the media, he said, I know Auburn fans are tired of hearing just be patient. So we're going to get this fixed immediately. The media burst into laughter. Some people thought it was a tasteless joke. I thought it was right on time. Look, this doesn't have to be a rebuild.
No.
I don't think this has to be a rebuild. If you get the right guy in here, there will be some questions about whether or not, I mean, DJ Durkin was the most sought after defensive coordinator in the offseason last year. Ohio State, we had to break the bank to keep him from going to Ohio State. Ryan Day really wanted him. I think that he would be a slam dunk. My question would be, would he want, if he's really interested in the head coaching job, would he want to stay if he gets passed over for the head coaching job, or would he want to move on? Right. But if he can win these next three, given that I know from talking to at least 25 players now in the last 3 days, prominent players, your best chance at retaining this roster is that DJ Durkin wins over these next few weeks, and you keep him, and these guys will go to war for this man. And you go out and you find an offensive coordinator if it's not Derek Nix, and you keep it pushing here. But why do you think why Summerall over a guy like Rhett Lashlee? Because I like that name as well too. You said, as you mentioned, he's got deep Auburn ties. Should Auburn go the less traveled route, or should they go for, you mentioned James Franklin is a name you like. I mean, he's won a lot of games, but was unable to get Penn State over the hump. I would not say there's a lack of resources at Penn State. And he was in the second hardest conference in the country in the Big Ten. And they absolutely got screwed in 2016, by the way.
Yeah.
So,
totally.
he's had his shots, but, Penn State choosing to move on. Should Auburn retread James Franklin or John Summerall? Like, is Summerall firmly at the top of your list?
Yeah.
He is?
Yeah. I've just been a huge fan. And look, Mike, there are so many elements to this that aren't on paper. They're like the intangibles, like the X factor, the chemistry of the fit. It's kind of like a lot of people are great. They may not be great partners romantically. It doesn't mean they're not going to be good husbands and wives. They weren't good for each other. Like, the fit really does matter. And while I understand the argument about James Franklin not getting over the hump, when has Lane Kiffin gotten Ole Miss over the hump? He's consistently gotten them 10-win seasons, but we're not hoisting championship trophies in Oxford. And you can say the resources are different. And why can't you win in Oxford? You had Jackson Dart. Has anyone seen what he's doing in New York? Like, I just don't understand that being the be all end all. Yet we're convinced that Lane Kiffin is the answer at every program with an opening right now. Like, to me, it goes beyond just your ability to win a championship, because everyone thought it was going to be Brian Kelly winning a championship in LSU. The fit was wrong. The marriage was wrong. So that's why some of these to me are a no. I don't see Brent Key and Auburn being a good marriage. I don't see Eli Drinkwitz and Auburn being a good marriage. I see it more in a John Summerall. And, it's funny. I've seen a lot of media speak about it that say very assuredly, like, he's going to be a successful Power 4 head coach. And people ask why. And it's like, there's just something about him. Like, if you interact with him, if you spend time with him or get the opportunity to cover a game coached by him, you just can tell there is a difference. And I've covered a lot of them. And I can tell you the ones with, there are signs that it ain't going to work. And there are signs that it will. And that's ultimately what it can come down to. But I also think that there will be a fervor from John Summerall wherever he ends up, because that's the opportunity he's been preparing for. I mean, the guy played at Kentucky. He grew up in Huntsville, so he knows SEC ball as life. You know what I mean? Like, that's the different perception in the SEC that you're not always getting from coaches outside. James Franklin understands the business side of this thing, which I also think is going to be advantageous, because Auburn does have so many resources at your disposal. Not having a guy who firmly understands it all, like, can operate those conversations effectively, is going to be a miss. And I think that's ultimately some of the intangibles, but also a full understanding of the business side of things. And then, how many times have I said it on your show, Mike? Talent evaluation. You
Yes.
can no longer miss at your key positions, i.e., offensive line and quarterback. So I want a guy who has gone out. If you go back to last year, Tulane had Darian Mensah at quarterback. I don't know if anyone has seen what he's been doing at Duke. Like, John Summerall with less in a lower tier of competition has gotten great athletes that have produced fruit on the field. So I want to see what talent you have evaluated, how it has come to fruition, and I want the intangible chemistry and the business understanding and acumen. To me, those boxes are checked by John Summerall and James Franklin. TBD on DJ Durkin. Rhett Lashlee, I would put right up in that list, Mike. My issue is not knowing if it's even a realistic conversation because of the
Yeah.
extension SMU just offered him.
Taylor, before we get out of here, I do want to ask you a question. As the Hugh Freeze era has come to a close this weekend, I reported that earlier this week that there was some contention over his buyout internally. After the Missouri game, source told me that Auburn offered him a lowered buyout, which he rejected after the Kentucky loss. Something else was accepted. When asked on Monday, John, there were some national reporters that came out to refute my report. But on Monday, John Cohen, when asked about Freeze's buyout, said, "We're in talk with Coach Freeze's people. Those talks are ongoing and they're not close to done." So that confirms that, again, if you're paying his buyout, there's nothing to talk about, right? Like, why would you have ongoing talks?
Sure.
Yeah. So I trust my source there. The only reason that you negotiate the buyout down if you're Auburn is if you feel like you have cause to fire. And they're trying to find an amicable way to split here without making that a protracted legal battle. What do you think Hugh Freeze's legacy is going to be here at Auburn? I mean, some of the reasons why Auburn may be fighting the buyout may be about time spent and effort and things going on behind the scenes, a little bit of mismanagement. Cohen said on Monday, he said, "If we even had an average offense, I wouldn't be standing here in front of you today."
Yeah.
Strong words from the athletic director here. And he made it clear this is about the offense not living up to the expectations that we expect based on the talent that is in those offensive meeting rooms. What's Hugh Freeze's legacy here at Auburn, do you think?
Yeah, I really didn't want to have to, see this come to reality. But I said on your show last week, given what all is happening elsewhere in college football, it would take a very extreme black and white result to force the hand of John Cohen. And I think 3 points at home at night to the SEC's worst team was exactly that. And so the decision was made for him. I give a lot of credit to the fact that Hugh Freeze took over when Auburn was at its lowest. I know people feel like it hasn't climbed. It has. Okay. I know firsthand and from people directly involved with the situation, the caliber of athletes in that building now versus when he took over are night and day different. The Brian Harsin regime sent Auburn back many, many, many years, and Hugh Freeze did make up ground in the aftermath of that. I don't want that to not be credited because what he took over was a worse situation than what it is now. It may not be amounting in wins and losses, but you can look at the roster and tell it is. And if the next step, the next hire or promotion, if it's DJ Durkin, is maintaining a lot of those talent, improving them, putting them in systems to thrive, then ultimately it did kind of start with the Hugh Freeze era because they were the turnover and the transition period out of that time, getting athletes that are Auburn, caliber athletes back on the plains, in-state recruiting. We've been beating Alabama. Like that, to me, the talent increase of getting back to Auburn, I will credit there. I think what happens to them from here on, unfortunately, was not going to be done by him. But I think it was the bridge from the worst to improvement. I think he was the bridge to that. I do not think it was the same as Harsin era, and I don't think it was worse. We are headed in the right direction. It just was at a much slower pace. Now the answer is, can you keep a lot of the talent that you brought in?
Yeah, absolutely. Well said, my friend. Taylor Davis, sideline reporter for ESPN. I want to thank you for joining me to give all your articulated thoughts on the Auburn football coaching situation. We'll see what they do. John Cohen said he plans to make an announcement on a hire not too long after the Iron Bowl. So a lot will have to do with how DJ performs over these next 3 weeks and whatnot.
Yeah.
But before we get out of here, do me a favor. Let people know where they can find you.
Yeah, you can follow me on all social media platforms, Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. I attempt TikTok, even though I feel like I am the literal grandma on there, at Taylor Beth Davis. This weekend, I will be on the call for Marshall JMU. JMU is definitely one of those group of 5 contenders for a playoff spot, playing very well right now. That is going to be noon Eastern on ESPN2. And as always, you can find my podcast with Jason Campbell called SEC State of Mind. You can find us wherever you get your podcasts, as well as video platform on YouTube.
Guys, do us a favor. Let us know what you think about Taylor's picks for head coach. Do you want Rhett Lashlee or John Summerall? We want to hear from you. And while you're in the comment section, do us a favor. Smash that super thanks button. Your financial support helps keep the work that we're doing here going. Please hit like and subscribe. We are The War Report on every social media platform. TW Report on TikTok. We're signing off. And as always, War Eagle.